So, whoa, let me get my mic here. So you know that feeling that you're being left behind in your niche on YouTube, or worse yet, that you've never actually hit growth? Howdy everyone, Nate here. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be using our handy dandy guy here again to walk through exactly what it's gonna take for you to understand your space on YouTube so you never feel left behind again. And in order to do that, we're gonna be using the tool vidIQ periodically throughout this video. Why? Well, first, I spoke with TJ and I got a ridiculously good deal for you on vidIQ. But second, much of what I'm going to be showing here becomes much more automated with the tool. So to get started, go ahead and use vidIQ. I put a link in the pinned comment or the description, and let's walk through this, starting first with your playing field. I intentionally called it your playing field as kind of a sports analogy because YouTube is YouTube as a platform, yes. But also, what I have found from working with hundreds of clients one-on-one, as well as analyzing thousands of YouTube channels, is that each niche or each area on YouTube plays very differently. Think of it akin to one field being for soccer and another field being for baseball. They both involve a goal of winning the game, but how the game is played is very different. So in order to identify your playing field, this is the first thing I want you to answer. What are you doing? Really? Why are we here? What is the meaning of all of this? But really, in order to answer this question, what I want you to do is this. When you think of your playing field on YouTube, what are their questions and what are their interests? I want you to make a list of each of these. And I don't want you to overlook this because the number of times I've done one-on-one consults with people where they've paid me hundreds and hundreds of dollars that have recommended that we do this exact thing, I don't even know if I could count it. Because what you're doing here is putting yourself in your audience shoes and listing the questions they have and the things that they would find interesting. You're going to use these for what I'm going to show you here in a moment. Because next, what I want you to do is this. I want you to create a new YouTube account acting as if you are in your audience shoes. Acting as if you are your niche with this account. You can use your current account if you want to, just know that we're going to be doing a whole bunch of searches and acting like your target audience anyway. All right, you got that? Now we need to do this. Take that list of questions or interests that your audience have and start searching. Let's walk through an example. If I wanted to know what was out there for a video on how to grow grass, I could just search how to grow grass. Now, of course, on the left, I'm going to see these videos, these results for this search query that YouTube thinks it should serve up for me. But on the right, with this vidIQ sidebar, what we've done is summarized that search. So I want you to scroll down to down here to understand what I am seeing here. For this search term, the highest viewed video has this many views on it. The average is this many, and the average subscribers for the search term is this many. Gives you an idea of how the competition is doing. It also shows you the channels for the search term and adjacent related opportunities. If we weren't thinking of something, it shows down here. But here is the part where it really starts to get automated. Let's say I wanted to learn from this channel, Andrew Thrawn. And by the way, Andrew, if you're watching this video, go ahead and leave a comment so everybody can like your video and it can get you some awesome exposure because I'm picking on you. Okay, so we've got the video pulled up here, right? Next, go down here and click this. Add competitor. You'll see it's been added to my competitor list, which I'm going to show you here in a moment on why that matters so much. But the other thing I want you to do is look at this. If we click this AI coach thing up here, I can ask this coach to summarize this video. Because when I'm in research mode and I'm trying to understand the playing field that I'm in on YouTube, I might want to save time, and having something that is built in here that tells me just the high level points of what's contained in that video is extremely valuable. Okay, so we've done a variety of searches. We've added some competitors. We're paying attention to what they're doing. We're getting summaries of how they are approaching their videos. You can do this no matter what your channel size is. I do want to show you another source built right into channel analytics with a caveat that this requires that your channel be at least a notable or substantial size in order to get enough data for this. What you're going to do is click analytics, then audience, and scroll down to these two boxes here on the right. Channels your audience watches, and then what your audience watches. This channels your audience watches is like a hand-picked group of channels that you can just keep an eye on. It literally means that YouTube knows that your audience also watches these channels. And then this section, what your audience watches, gives you an idea of what is currently interesting to your audience. Yes, your audience. But then what if I told you there was an even more effective way to do this that didn't require that you have a large enough audience to have enough data for this? Well, that brings us to this next step here. We've identified our playing field and who the players are on this field. Now it is time to identify what is happening and why. The most effective way I have found to answer this question is to keep tabs on the other players in your space. You remember that we added a competitor to a competitor list. If you log into your vidIQ dashboard and click at competitors along the top, you'll be greeted with this. One, a beta test of adjacent channels. The AI is analyzing the channels on YouTube and saying, we think these channels might be channels for you to pay attention to. So I've gone ahead and added a bunch of quote unquote competitors in my space. I'll be speaking more on the word competitors here in a moment. But if we scroll down and we have all of our competitors selected over here on the right, we get a dashboard of what is currently happening. And this is where we get to one of the major advantages of using a tool like this. It auto updates. I can do all of this manually, but to have something constantly keeping an eye on it and have it be hand-picked channels that I selected to keep an eye on is awesome. So with all of these channels selected as competitors, I can keep an eye on, well, average daily views. How many views are they getting average per day in the last 30 days? I can even do 12 months if I want to. I can get a sense of how many subscribers they're getting per day in the last 12 months, which by the way, Ali Abdal, if you are seeing this, you are crushing it. 3,700 subscribers average per day. Dang, my man. And also, I can get an idea of the average public videos they're publishing per day, which shout out to Think Media over the last 12 months, 1.2 videos published every day. That is commendable. But see, we're not done yet, because when you scroll down here, you can get a dashboard sense of growth spikes, 7 days, 14 days, 28 days. What is reasonable to expect in your space? If, for example, I want to be growing at 10% every month, and I see that all my competitors are growing at 0.3% or 0.1%, that might be an unreasonable expectation and can really help my mindset to set a standard of what is current in my space. But also, and this is a part where I feel like the rubber really hits the road in understanding what is working and why. If we scroll down here, we have an up-to-date on the curated competitors that you've selected for your channel based on the time period that you select. And this stat, views per hour or VPH, is one that is not built into vanilla YouTube, but I have found to be exceptionally useful. You can also see it when you look at YouTube itself and you have the plugin installed. Views per hour, 620 views per hour, 79 views per hour. What this does for you with your competitors is because it is up to date, you're able to see which of these videos currently has velocity. Not a video that got 15,000 views a month ago, but a video that is currently getting an average of 754 views per hour. That information is really good to know to identify what is currently interesting to your audience. I hope you got what I just said there. Okay, now it is time to move into the action sequence. What do we actually do with all of this stuff we are seeing? Well, the first thing you can do is boop the like button on this video if it is being helpful or useful to you. Thank you for doing that. The first thing, and the most important thing in my mind, is to let your research into your playing field on YouTube train you. This one may feel like the most ethereal, mindset-y thing on this list, but what I've found is when you as a creator are able to understand your space so well that it becomes intuitive to you, you have a massive advantage. So as you're adding these competitors, you're watching the videos, you're understanding your playing field, let it seep in. Let it train you to understand their language and what they want in your space. And as you are doing that, the next thing we're going to do is this. Find notable content in your space. Now, if you need a starting point for what notable content would look like in your space, pay attention to either really high viewed videos or really low viewed videos. If you're looking at your competitors, for example, and you're looking at this list, you can look at the views per hour to compare things. So I figure it's meta here. I'm going to pick on vidIQ here. We've got two videos here. One right here published 6 days ago and one right here published 4 days ago. We have total view count here, 31,000 and 33,000. That's already giving us an interesting indicator. But when we compare the views per hour, we're starting to get a different picture here. Because this video is only getting 82 views per hour, but this video is getting 215 views per hour. There's something about this video that is much more interesting to the audience currently than this video. And you can do the exact inverse of that to identify the low videos. And with those videos, ask yourself the question, why do I think this video isn't performing as well? Because the next action I want you to take here is this. Keep a log or a journal of what is happening in your playing field. It can be very simple. And in fact, I have a starter version of this very thing with a free YouTube template I put together, and you can find a link to that in the description on this video. But the point here is understanding over time what is working well and what isn't working well. And we need to pause here to address the question, well, Nate, what if I don't feel very qualified to answer those questions? All right. So I've spent a lot of time analyzing YouTube channels and in this whole space. I do it a lot. You get that. So I've put considerable thought into that question. And with each case, I come to this point. Sooner or later, every YouTube creator, if they're an independent creator starting out and building something from the ground up, realizes at some point that there's a common denominator on the success of their channel. It's them. It's them as a person. So it follows that making yourself into the type of person that it is intuitive to grow a YouTube channel is very valuable. It's a worthwhile use of time. So when we go through this practice of asking yourself these questions, you are literally training yourself how to do that. And actually, that brings us to this next step, which I have labeled uncommon because I couldn't write out. I didn't have enough space to write uncommon mindset about competition. But here is the uncommon mindset about competition, particularly on YouTube, that I want you to adopt here. And hardly anyone ever talks about this. I got to ask you some questions here. How do you feel when you find another channel in your same playing field that is doing way better than you? Really, how do you feel? And conversely, how do you feel when you see another channel in your same space that is just dying or they're just not doing very well? I'd imagine for most creators, if you're like myself, with the first case, you might feel a bit of jealousy, like, dang, why are they so good? I wish I could be like, I'll never be like that. And even if you're not thinking those things consciously, oftentimes subconsciously, we have this belief. And then with the inverse, do we get some sort of sense of value by being better than other people in the space? Is that how we identify whether we are successful or not? I'm going to propose that we look at it this way. On the one side of this mindset, we've got competitors, and literally, it's a business term to say, what's your competition in the marketplace? I get that. But what I'm proposing is from a mindset perspective, we stop letting that determine how we feel about ourselves or determine what actions we take. And instead, think of it like this. The reality in the business world is people will buy a product from one company and not from another company. But on YouTube, it is different. People can watch your channel as well as someone else's channel. And naturally, your audience is going to find you and like what you're doing because of you. So as you're working through the research process, everything we've covered in this video up to this point, I want you to be thinking of it this way. How do I learn from them and how do I potentially collaborate with them? And if it makes it much simpler for you, I absolutely want you to use vidIQ, especially with the ridiculous deal I got for you. Because the next point here is, once you understand your market, what do you do then? I created an entire video for what to do next after you understand your market. And hint, hint, it has to do with identifying what videos will actually perform exceptionally well on your channel. So now, without further ado,